Hey, welcome you guys. I thought today it would be fun to make some fake ice cream sandwiches. I'm on a little bit of a ice cream kick since it's been so hot. I thought it'd be fun to make some frozen kind of treats. So the first thing you'll need is some foam clay. So just condition your clay. So for the thickness of my clay, I'm going to do 2 popsicle sticks thickness. This is going to be the cookie part, and I think that'll be about the right thickness for that. So I'm just going to sit these on the sides of my clay, and then I'm going to roll with my rolling pin until the clay is even with these popsicle sticks. Okay, so I'm just going to cut 2 circles out. You don't need anything fancy, just use a glass or anything round that you have. This one I'm using is about 3.5 inches across, and I think that'll make the perfect ice cream sandwich size. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces out with this, and you'll just want to peel away the excess so that your circle doesn't stick back to it. So I've got my 2 circles here. I'm just gonna tap in if there's any little pieces that are sticking out. Okay, and then we need to make the little dots on here. So I'm gonna use my dotting pens. So I'm gonna start out by just making a row, and then the next row needs to be offset from those. So in between those holes of the first line. And then just keep alternating. So now let's make a rectangle shaped one. I'm doing the same thing. And if you want to glue these popsicle sticks together to make it so they don't move around as easily, you can definitely do that as well. Make it a little easier on yourself. So I was trying to look up how big an ice cream sandwich is because I don't have any at my house, and I wasn't getting very good measurements. So I think what I'm going to go with is 5 by 2.5. So I didn't want to have to use a mold or anything for this, so I'm just going to measure this out and mark it here, and I'm just going to cut it with my blade. So this made the mark down here, and then I made the blade mark there. So I'm just going to cut those. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the 2.5. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good size. So the corners are usually rounded, so we want to go ahead and press those in to round them up some so that this looks realistic. Just need to make the dots on this one as well, so the same process. One other thing I want to do is just give this a little bit of texture, so I'm going to take my toothbrush and just texture it just a little bit. Be careful, you don't want to mess up all your holes that you made. You could also texture it before you do the holes if you wanted to, if you're worried that you'll mess them up. And it doesn't need to be a super lot of texture, just we don't want it to be like so flat looking. You can do the texture on the sides as well. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little cup and I'm going to make up my color for the cookie part. So I'm going to use burnt umber and melted chocolate. So I think I'm going to do the majority burnt umber and then just put a little bit of melted chocolate in there too. So I don't need to do the whole bottom side, but I'm going to do right around the edge here just in case any of that part shows. So I'm just going to kind of get that and the side edge at the same time. And then just paint the whole top. And make sure to get into those holes. You don't want to fill them up with paint, but you want to make sure that they get paint inside of them so that the white doesn't show. So a good way you can do that if you have trouble getting your brush in there is you can use your dotting tool again and then just put some paint on it and stick it down in there. One other thing I wanted to mention, if you guys don't have dotting tools and you don't want to go buy them, you can use, if you have bobby pins that have that little kind of like rubbery thing on the end, that will work just the same for this. Or you could even use like the tip of a pen or a pencil to make the little dots in these. So I'm going to let these, let the paint dry on these. I'm not going to let the clay dry. You could let the clay dry, but I feel like once it dries, it's not flexible so much anymore. And I think when we put the ice cream in the middle, having the clay wet is just going to make it a little bit easier to get everything to go together how we want it to look. So while I'm letting that paint dry, I'm going to go ahead and get my ice cream ready to put in the middle of these. So I just have a disposable bowl here. And I'm going to use my lightweight spackling. So you can use this completely white if you want to, but I want to make it look like vanilla ice cream. So I'm going to add just a little bit of antique white just to give it a little bit of that vanilla look. And I'm just going to add a little bit at a time because I don't want it to be super yellow looking. Okay, so that looks about right. So it's just got a little bit of that yellowy tinge to it, but not much at all. Okay, so we'll start out with the round one. So I'm just going to take some of my spackling and put it in here. If you wanted to do this with a piping bag, you could do that too. It'll make it a little less messy, I guess. And then just kind of put it in there, and then we'll put the other cookie part on top. Now, these are usually very flat on the sides. So what I'm gonna do, you could do this with a popsicle stick or whatever you want. I'm gonna use my finger and just kind of go around. You want to get it all the way to the edge though before you do this. And then we're just going to kind of take off the excess with our finger or with a popsicle stick or however you want to do it. And the thing is, this doesn't need to be perfect because if you look at the real ones, they are not perfect. So if you make it too perfect looking, it's not going to look realistic. So if some gets up on the cookie part, that's okay. That's how the real ones look. And if you get too much on there and you don't like how it looks, you can always just wipe it off and then touch up with your cookie color paint and fix it up. Okay, so I thought it'd be fun to put some sprinkles on this one. So I have some patriotic sprinkles that I thought I would use for this. I made these with the methods I show in my sprinkles videos. So if you want to make some like this, or I give you lots of cool ideas in there of ways you can make sprinkles. So I'm just going to put these in a bowl. You could do a paper plate too. This way, whatever I don't use, I can just put back into my container. So I'm just going to roll it in the sprinkles. I should have done this before 4th of July, but I was on my state fair kick, so I guess we're a little late with the patriotic stuff, but you could literally do any kind of sprinkles you want on this. You could also just sprinkle them on like this too, if you find that easier. And then for the rectangle one, we're just going to do the same thing. Now, if you wanted to, you could do like chocolate chips or chocolate chunks along the sides, or mixed in with the ice cream. And I showed you how to make mint chip ice cream in my last video, so you could use that same method for this. And then like on these corners, I did a bad job getting the ice cream all the way to the corner. So I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more here and then smooth it out with my finger. And then we're just going to let this dry for however long it takes to dry, probably a couple of days for all of the spackling to dry. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.